It was supposed to be just another painstaking, dust-filled day in the relentless pursuit of the past, a routine excavation under the blazing Jerusalem sun. Another carefully plotted dig, another meticulously brushed layer of ancient stone revealed beneath the bustling modern streets of the city of God. But what a team of unsuspecting archaeologists began to uncover on that fateful morning, a morning that would soon send shockwaves of disbelief and elation around the entire globe, was something that would not merely shift our understanding of history, but would pierce the very veil of time itself. Hidden for thousands of years, entombed deep beneath the sacred soil of the ancient city of David, they stumbled upon what countless scholars, fervent believers, and hopeful dreamers had long thought was irretrievably lost to the annals of history. A relic of faith more than fact. The actual, undisturbed tomb of King David himself. For untold centuries, the precise final resting place of Israel's most revered and beloved king. The humble shepherd boy who miraculously slew a fearsome giant. The psalmist whose words still echo in the deepest chambers of the human soul. The valiant warrior who forged a nation. And the flawed, repentant man unequivocally described as being after God's own heart, was utterly shrouded in profound, impenetrable mystery. Dear viewers, before continuing this video, we kindly ask you to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, if you want to receive notifications about new video releases, please hit the bell icon. Thank you for your understanding. The Holy Bible clearly states that he was buried within the confines of the city of David, his royal citadel, but no definitive, universally accepted location had ever been archaeologically proven. Its whereabouts a tantalizing enigma. That is, until that astonishing, paradigm-shattering moment. What the bewildered archaeologists found when they finally breached the sanctity of that long-sealed tomb didn't just rewrite dusty history books. It dramatically, powerfully reawakened the slumbering faith of millions upon millions worldwide. Because what they discovered within those hallowed confines wasn't merely an ancient burial chamber, a relic of a bygone era. No, it was a sacred, divine time capsule, overflowing with irrefutable, tangible evidence that the mighty, invisible hand of Almighty God still actively moves through the unfolding pages of time, his purposes unthwarted, his promises unbroken. Now, let us prepare to dive deep into the very heart of this truly miraculous, earth-shaking story. The ancient city of David, a place pregnant with biblical resonance, sits with quiet dignity just outside the imposing southern walls of Jerusalem's storied old city. Beneath its contemporary buildings, its vibrant tourist throngs, and the ceaseless hum of modern life, lies layer upon astonishing layer of sacred biblical history, a veritable archaeological tell of divine encounters and human drama. This, in its very essence, was the original Jerusalem, the Jebusite stronghold that King David, in a divinely orchestrated conquest, captured and transformed into the capital of his burgeoning kingdom. It was here, within these ancient precincts, that he constructed his royal palace. It was here, for a glorious period, that the sacred Ark of the Covenant, the very symbol of God's presence, once rested before the construction of Solomon's Temple. For many years, dedicated teams of archaeologists have been diligently, painstakingly excavating this incredibly significant area, meticulously uncovering ancient walls, sophisticated water systems, and the remnants of homes that date back over 3,000 years to the very era of David and Solomon. But beneath all this already momentous work, there were always persistent whispers, tantalizing rumors passed down with hushed reverence through countless generations, obscure references in ancient half-forgotten writings, tales of hidden tunnels purposefully sealed off centuries ago. frustrating clues that seemed to lead nowhere until now, until this breathtaking breakthrough. In the latter part of the year 2024, a highly skilled archaeological team, under the distinguished leadership of the fictional Dr. Eli Shamir from the esteemed Hebrew University, began the arduous task of exploring a narrow, previously uninvestigated underground shaft located beneath an older, well-documented excavation site. They were not, it must be emphasized, specifically looking for a royal tomb of any kind. In fact, their stated objective was the search for an ancient, complex water system, a vital piece of Jerusalem's early infrastructure, cryptically mentioned in certain early historical texts. But as the determined team dug deeper and deeper into the bedrock of Jerusalem, pushing further into the silent, subterranean darkness, they unexpectedly broke through a solid rock face, revealing something utterly unforeseen, something that would instantly halt their original search in its tracks. They found themselves gazing into a hollow, man-made chamber, its walls adorned with mysterious, ancient engravings, a space that had clearly been hermetically sealed for untold centuries. The very air inside that sacred chamber hadn't been breathed by human lungs in millennia. It was thick, heavy, and strangely still. The accumulated dust of ages lay like a soft, undisturbed shroud upon every surface. And there, at the far end of this astonishingly preserved room, their hearts pounding in their chests, their flashlights trembling, they saw it. A sarcophagus, massive, majestic, and intricately, almost supernaturally, carved. Ancient Hebrew inscriptions, faded but still legible, surrounded the chamber walls, their sacred syllables seeming to whisper secrets of a long-lost era. Entire psalms, the lyrical prayers of David himself, were meticulously etched into the enduring stone, a timeless liturgy preserved in rock. A magnificent lion, the unmistakable emblem of the tribe of Judah, was powerfully carved into the sarcophagus's lid. And then, the name, the one name that every member of the team knew could change the world, inscribed with solemn dignity upon the tomb, sent an involuntary chill, a wave of profound awe and disbelief, coursing down their very bones. David, Melech Yisrael. David, King of Israel. In the immediate aftermath of this monumental discovery, all cameras were strictly banned from the site. The news was kept under a tight, almost impenetrable cloak of secrecy for several weeks, as a hand-picked, multidisciplinary team of leading international experts, archaeologists, epigraphers, historians, and biblical scholars, was discreetly assembled to rigorously verify its authenticity, to ensure beyond any shadow of a doubt that this was not some elaborate hoax or a tragic misinterpretation. And within that hallowed tomb, alongside the royal sarcophagus, they found an astonishing array of artifacts, each one perfectly matching the historical period of King David's illustrious reign. There were exquisitely crafted musical instruments, perhaps even a lyre similar to the one David played to soothe the troubled King Saul. There were formidable bronze weapons, remnants of his many military campaigns, ancient clay oil lamps, their wicks long since turned to dust, lay scattered, having once cast a flickering glow upon these sacred objects. There were delicate, incredibly fragile fragments of ancient scrolls, their script requiring the most careful handling and decipherment. And almost unbelievably, there were even what appeared to be the ghostly remnants of a royal robe, a garment of once fine linen or wool, miraculously preserved by the extreme, unvarying dryness of the sealed chamber. But perhaps the most powerfully evocative, the most emotionally charged moment for the Discovery team came when they found a simple, unassuming slingshot, crafted from weathered leather and smooth, carefully chosen stones, resting on a nearby rock-hewn shelf. Whether this was the actual, legendary sling David had used in his epical battle against the giant Goliath, or whether it was a profoundly symbolic representation placed there in his honor, it was impossible to say with certainty. Yet it looked undeniably worn, as if from long and frequent use. It was almost as if someone, perhaps David himself in his later years, or a devoted attendant, had deliberately, reverently placed it there as an eternal, humble reminder of the young shepherd boy's first monumental act of faith, his courageous, God-empowered victory that had set him on the path to kingship. There were also, as mentioned, numerous scroll fragments found within the chamber. These, upon painstaking examination, were revealed to be partial texts of the Psalms, those timeless hymns of praise, lament, and unwavering trust in God. And with a thrill that resonated through the scholarly world, these ancient fragments were found to be nearly word for word identical with the versions we have in our modern Bibles, a stunning testament to the accuracy of scribal transmission over 3 millennia. The raw, spiritual power of David's own words, perhaps even written by his own hand or dictated to the scribes of his royal court, seemed to echo almost audibly within the silent, sacred chamber, like a living, breathing prayer, bridging the vast gulf of time. When the electrifying news of the tomb's confirmed discovery finally broke, escaping the tight seal of academic secrecy, it spread like an uncontrollable wildfire across the entire globe. The reaction was instantaneous, overwhelming, and deeply polarized. Hardened skeptics, as always, immediately demanded irrefutable, absolute proof, their voices tinged with suspicion and a reluctance to accept what could so profoundly challenge their worldview. Devout believers, hearing the news, literally fell to their knees in spontaneous acts of worship and heartfelt thanksgiving, tears streaming down their faces. The government of Israel, recognizing the monumental historical and cultural significance of the find, swiftly declared the site a protected national treasure of the highest order. Millions upon millions of people around the world tuned in with breathless anticipation to live news streams and hastily arranged press conferences, eager for every new detail, every fresh image. Pilgrims, their hearts ablaze with renewed faith, began to flood into Jerusalem in unprecedented numbers, hoping to catch even a distant glimpse of this sacred place, to simply be near the ground where their beloved King David had finally been laid to rest. It wasn't just dry history being confirmed. It was something far more profound, far more personal. It was living faith being dramatically, powerfully reignited in the hearts of a generation starved for tangible signs of God's presence. For so long, certain influential critics and secular historians had sought to dismiss King David as a mere legendary figure, a mythical hero woven into the folklore of an ancient tribe, not a real flesh and blood king who had actually reigned. But here, now, was his tomb, his very name etched in stone, his personal writings, his royal artifacts. The sheer weight of the evidence was becoming truly overwhelming, almost impossible to rationally deny. Suddenly, the beloved, timeless story of the shepherd boy who rose from obscurity to become Israel's greatest king, the man who danced with uninhibited joy before the Ark of the Covenant, the king who tragically sinned yet found profound forgiveness through heartfelt repentance, wasn't just an inspiring spiritual tale or a moral allegory. It was real. It was carved into immutable stone, sealed for millennia in a hidden, divinely protected chamber. On one side of the magnificent sarcophagus, a longer, previously unknown inscription was discovered, one that had never been recorded in any known historical text or biblical manuscript. It appeared to be David's final, poignant words, his last will and testament to his people, or perhaps a profoundly personal message he had specifically instructed to be left behind for future generations who would one day uncover his resting place. When the ancient Hebrew script was painstakingly translated, the message it conveyed brought tears to the eyes of all who heard it. I have walked through the deepest valleys of shadow, through peril, and through despair. But the Lord, my God, never once left my side. Tell those who come after me. Tell my children and my children's children down through the ages. Do not place your ultimate trust in the might of chariots or the strength of horses, nor in the power of princes or the wealth of nations, but trust only and always in the holy name of the Lord. My earthly kingdom, with all its glory, fades like the morning mist, but His kingdom, His righteousness, and His love remain steadfast and sure, forever and ever. This incredibly moving message, resonating with the wisdom of a life lived in both triumph and tribulation, left countless people across the world in tears. It wasn't just a king's formal farewell address. It was the intimate, heartfelt voice of a father of faith, speaking with profound relevance and urgent encouragement directly to our often cynical and fearful generation. It was the testimony of a man who had experienced the pinnacle of earthly success and the abyss of personal failure, who had possessed everything a man could desire and had also lost so much that was precious to him, yet through it all had never, ever stopped trusting in his God. The far-reaching impact of this astounding discovery stretched far beyond the hallowed halls of religion and the meticulous corridors of archaeology. People from all walks of life, individuals who had long ago turned away from any semblance of faith, who had perhaps become disillusioned or embittered, began to question again. Their hardened hearts stirred by this tangible link to a past where God's presence seemed so palpable. Churches, synagogues, and places of worship across many denominations reported renewed, often significantly increased, attendance. Families that had once been fractured by doubt, by spiritual apathy, started gathering together again to pray, to seek solace and meaning in a world suddenly illuminated by this ancient light. A young woman in Italy shared her deeply personal story, testifying that she had been struggling for years with profound depression and debilitating suicidal thoughts. After seeing the news reports of David's tomb and reading his powerful final message of unwavering trust in God through the darkest valleys, she felt an inexplicable sense of peace wash over her, a peace she hadn't experienced for the first time in many long, agonizing years. If King David, she tearfully proclaimed, could walk through such profound darkness and still hold fast to his trust in God, then surely so can I. In a remote village in Africa, a devoted elderly pastor who had been faithfully preaching about the life and faith of King David for over 30 arduous years wept openly on a live internet stream as he heard the news. "He is real," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. "He is truly real. My sermons, my life's work, they were not in vain." The tomb of King David didn't just prove that a legendary king had once existed. It powerfully, resoundingly reminded the entire world that God's ancient promises endure, that His faithfulness transcends the passage of time and the crumbling of earthly empires. The far-reaching impact of this astounding discovery stretched far beyond the hallowed halls of religion and the meticulous corridors of archaeology. People from all walks of life, individuals who had long ago turned away from any semblance of faith, who had perhaps become disillusioned or embittered, began to question again. Their hardened hearts stirred by this tangible link to a past where God's presence seemed so palpable. Churches, synagogues, and places of worship across many denominations reported renewed, often significantly increased, attendance. Families that had once been fractured by doubt, by spiritual apathy, started gathering together again to pray, to seek solace and meaning in a world suddenly illuminated by this ancient light. A young woman in Italy shared her deeply personal story, testifying that she had been struggling for years with profound depression and debilitating suicidal thoughts. After seeing the news reports of David's tomb and reading his powerful final message of unwavering trust in God through the darkest valleys, she felt an inexplicable sense of peace wash over her, a peace she hadn't experienced for the first time in many long, agonizing years. If King David, she tearfully proclaimed, could walk through such profound darkness and still hold fast to his trust in God, then surely so can I. In a remote village in Africa, a devoted elderly pastor who had been faithfully preaching about the life and faith of King David for over 30 arduous years wept openly on a live internet stream as he heard the news. "He is real," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. "He is truly real. My sermons, my life's work, they were not in vain." The tomb of King David didn't just prove that a legendary king had once existed. It powerfully, resoundingly reminded the entire world that God's ancient promises endure, that his faithfulness transcends the passage of time and the crumbling of earthly empires. As this video wraps up, we'd like to remind you to like and subscribe to our channel. Your support is vital for our channel's growth and helps us keep creating content. To be notified about new videos, remember to hit that bell icon. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.